Ethan woke on for planks with one impossible talent. Anything stored in his inventory regenerated without limit. Everyone else begged for water, while the ocean erased the weak. Ethan stored one bottle, and the count became unlimited. Food, wood, tools, and weapons followed the same rule. Repeated registration even evolved ordinary resources into stronger versions. Before sunset, his dying raft became a reinforced fortress. The ocean was not his prison. It was his warehouse. The sea offered no mercy. It swallowed cities without hesitation. It crushed steel towers beneath black waves. It erased roads, borders, nations, and graves. When humanity opened its eyes again, every survivor stood alone on a wooden raft beneath an endless sky. No land, no rescue, no explanation, only a cold blue screen floating in the air. Welcome to Ocean Survival. Gather resources, expand your vessel, survive the coming disasters. Those who fall into the sea will be erased. Ethan Vale stared at the words without panic. Around him, waves rolled beneath a raft barely wide enough for him to lie down. For damp planks creaked under his boots. A rusty hook rested near his feet. Beside it sat a frayed rope and a cracked wooden cup. That was everything he owned. The horizon was empty. The sky was gray. The ocean smelled like salt and death. Then the global channel exploded. Where am I? Someone help me. My daughter is missing. I cannot swim. This has to be a nightmare. Does anyone have food? Please, I will trade anything for water. Fear spread faster than fire. Millions of people screamed into the same channel, hoping someone else understood the rules. No one did. Ethan did not join them. He crouched and touched the raft. A faint vibration passed through his fingertips. Then another screen appeared. Talent awakening in progress. Every survivor will receive one talent. Talent grades range from worthless to divine. Awakening complete. Talent acquired. Endless supply grade. Supreme Sovereign. Any resource stored inside your personal inventory will regenerate without limit. Additional effect. Resource quality may evolve after repeated use. Additional effect. Containers linked to the talent will never become empty. Ethan read the description once. Then he smiled. It was not a smile of joy. It was thin, cold, sharp enough to cut skin. The world had thrown everyone into the same ocean, but it had not given everyone the same fate. A wooden crate drifted several meters away. Most people would have lunged for it in desperation. Ethan calmly tied the rope to the rusty hook. He tested the knot, pulled once, pulled twice. Then he waited until the wave carried the crate closer. The hook flew. Metal scraped wood. The crate jerked toward him. He dragged it across the water and split the lid with the hook. Inside were 2 bottles of clean water, 3 dry biscuits, a bundle of wood, and a simple fishing net. The moment he placed the first bottle into his inventory, the talent activated. Clean water registered. 1 bottle became 2. 2 became 4. 4 became 8. Ethan observed the count rise until the display stopped showing a number, and replaced it with a single phrase, unlimited. He opened the inventory. Rows of water bottles stretched into darkness, enough to save a city, enough to make kings kneel, enough to turn the entire ocean into his marketplace. He stored 1 biscuit. Unlimited biscuits appeared. He stored 1 bundle of wood. Unlimited wood appeared. He stored the fishing net. Another notification flashed. Repeated resource registration detected. Quality evolution available. Basic fishing net evolved into reinforced harvesting net. Ethan lifted the new net from his inventory. The weak rope had become dark woven fiber. The knots were tight. The edge carried small metal weights. It could gather several floating objects at once. His eyes narrowed. This was not merely endless supply. It was endless growth. The global channel continued to collapse into madness. I have not found any water. My raft is breaking. Someone traded me rattenwood. Who has food? I will give my clothes for 1 drink. A man named Victor Crane appeared in the channel. His message was highlighted in gold. I awakened an elite navigation talent. Everyone nearby should obey my commands. I can lead survivors toward resources. People immediately flooded him with praise. Save us. You are our leader. Please guide me. I will give you half of everything I find. Victor replied with arrogant patience. Food and water must be centralized under my control. Weak survivors waste resources. Send me your supplies and I will distribute them fairly. Ethan almost laughed. Civilization had ended less than an hour ago. A tyrant had already crawled out of the wreckage. Some people were born hungry for power. Others were born eager to hand it over. Ethan ignored the channel and cast his reinforced net. A cluster of floating debris drifted nearby. Wood, palm leaves, plastic fragments, a sealed barrel. The net swallowed everything. The moment each resource entered his inventory, it became endless. Palm leaves regenerated. Plastic regenerated. Rope regenerated. Even the empty barrel regenerated. A construction menu appeared. Small raft expansion available. Cost wood and rope. Ethan selected confirm. The raft trembled. New planks formed around him. The narrow platform doubled in size, then doubled again. He expanded until the raft became a broad square floating steadily on the waves. Most survivors were still afraid to stand. Ethan already had room to walk. Another menu opened. Basic shelter available, he confirmed. Wooden post rose from the deck. Walls assembled themselves, a slanted roof locked into place. The shelter was crude, but it blocked the wind. Ethan placed endless water inside. Endless biscuits, endless rope, endless wood. He looked at the small room and felt nothing. Comfort was useful. Attachment was weakness. The shelter was not a home. It was the first stone of an empire. A private message appeared. Sender, Lily Harper. Sir, I saw that you collected several crates. My younger brother is with me, and he is sick. Could you spare a little water? I can trade wood. Ethan examined the message. He refused to answer immediately. The ocean was vast, but every action created a reputation. And generosity attracted gratitude. It also attracted parasites. He opened the trading interface and listed 1 bottle of water. Price, 1 piece of any unknown resource. The listing vanished instantly. A moment later, a small gray stone appeared in his inventory. The talent activated. Unknown mineral registered. Regeneration begins. The stone multiplied without limit. Another message materialized. Mineral analysis unlocked. Salt stone. Can be processed into preserving salt. Can reinforce primitive structures. Can be used in certain purification devices. Ethan sent Lily another bottle. Not as charity, as payment for useful information. Where did you find the stone? Her reply came quickly. It floated inside a broken clay pot. There are more pieces near my raft. Collect them. I will exchange food and water. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ethan closed the message. He had found his first supplier. Not because he lacked resources, because the ocean contained things he had not yet registered. His talent could create infinity from a single seed. That made every stranger useful. Every desperate survivor could search for him. Every starving person could crawl through danger and bring him something new. He would not need to risk his life for common materials. Human greed would harvest the ocean on his behalf. Victor Crane posted again. Anyone trading privately is sabotaging collective survival. All water should be surrendered to the Leadership Alliance. A second name joined him, Serena Blackwood. Her profile carried a silver emblem. I awakened an advanced appraisal talent. Victor's plan is correct. Random trading will create chaos. Survivors should submit resources to qualified leaders. The channel was filled with agreement. People feared freedom when they were hungry. They wanted someone to command them, someone to blame, someone to kneel before. Victor created the Dawnfleet Alliance. Membership required a daily contribution of food, water, and building materials. In return, members received protection. Protection from what no one knew, but thousands applied. Ethan observed the alliance grow. His smile returned. Victor believed he was building a kingdom. He was actually gathering livestock into one pen. The sea would teach him the difference. A red notification suddenly appeared across the sky. First disaster approaching. Night storm. Estimated arrival after sunset. Survivors are advised to reinforce their rafts. Failure will result in destruction. The channel fell silent. Then panic erupted. My raft, my wood to trade for food. Victor, help us. Alliance members will be protected, right? Victor responded. Priority protection will be given to high contributors. The implication was impossible to miss. Those who had already surrendered everything would now be forced to surrender more. Ethan opened the construction menu. Reinforced foundation, raised edges, storm anchor, drainage system, covered storage. Every option required resources. Ethan had infinity. He confirmed them all. The raft changed beneath him. Thick beams locked under the deck. High wooden rails rose around the perimeter. A heavy anchor formed at the front. Channels appeared along the floor to guide water back into the sea. The shelter gained a second layer of walls, then a stronger roof. The simple raft became a compact fortress. A warning appeared. Current structure exceeds beginner vessel limit. Upgrade vessel core. Ethan selected yes. A pale crystal formed beneath the center of the deck. Ocean energy flowed into it. Vessel upgraded. Drift platform. Additional construction capacity unlocked. Storage expansion unlocked. Defensive structures unlocked. Livestock modules locked. Farming modules locked. Energy modules locked. Ethan studied the list. The ocean had given him a path, raft, platform, ship, fortress, empire. He would climb all of it. Not because he desired glory. Glory was noise. He wanted control. Control over food, control over water, control over trade, control over the difference between life and death. A second crate floated toward him. He captured it with a net. Inside was a metal knife, a rain collector blueprint, a handful of nails, and a strange blue fruit. The knife became endless. The nails became endless. The blueprint registered permanently. The fruit triggered a warning. Unknown consumable, possible beneficial mutation, possible lethal poisoning. Ethan stored it. Endless blue fruit appeared. He cut a tiny piece with the knife and placed it inside the cracked wooden cup. Then he waited. The slice dissolved into pale liquid. The cup began to glow. Item evolution detected. Cracked wooden cup evolved into minor toxin detector. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Even trash could become treasure under repeated contact with his talent. He tested the fruit again. The cup turned green, safe for consumption. Effect slightly improves resistance to cold. Ethan ate one. A mild warmth spread through his body. He ate another. then another. The effect weakened but did not vanish. He stopped before wasting time. The storm would bring cold. Others would tremble through the night. He would sit inside a reinforced shelter with endless water, endless food, and a body already adapting. A trade request appeared from Lily. She offered several salt stones, a piece of copper wire, and a torn cloth. Ethan accepted. All three became endless. The copper wire unlocked primitive electrical components. The cloth evolved after registration into waterproof fabric. Ethan immediately reinforced the shelter roof with it. The first drop of rain struck the deck. The sky had darkened without warning. Clouds gathered like a closing fist. Wind dragged white scars across the ocean. The raft beneath Ethan remained steady. Far away, thunder rolled. The global channel flooded with prayers. Victor spoke in a grand tone. Dawn Fleet members, follow my orders. Those who contribute extra wood will receive storm guidance. Serena added, do not trust independent survivors. Hoarders are enemies of humanity. Ethan leaned against the doorway of a shelter. Hoarder, enemy monster. People always invented moral names for those who possessed what they wanted. He opened the trade market, then he listed water, biscuits, rope, nails, waterproof cloth, and reinforced wood. The prices were not cheap. Each item required an unknown resource blueprint fragment, special material, or rare object. The market exploded. Survivors rushed to trade. Victor immediately sent a private message. Remove your listings. You are undermining my authority. Ethan read it, then deleted it. Victor sent another. You do not understand who you are provoking. Ethan blocked him. Outside, the storm arrived. Rain slammed into the ocean. Waves rose like moving walls. Thunder tore open the sky. Across the global channel, screams appeared one after another. My raft split. I am falling. The rope broke. Victor, you promised protection. I gave you everything. Names vanished from the channel, one by one, erased. Ethan sat inside his shelter and drank warm water from an evolved metal cup. The walls groaned. The anchor held. The drainage channels carried away the rain. His endless supplies remained dry. On the market, prices climbed with every death. A single bottle of water now bought strange ore. A bundle of reinforced wood bought blueprints. A dry biscuit bought medicine. Desperation stripped away dignity. Fear stripped away loyalty. Victor's alliance began to fracture before the first night had even ended. Members accused him of fraud. Victor threatened them. Serena defended him. Then a massive wave struck. The global channel flickered. Victor disappeared for several minutes. When he returned, his message was no longer confident. My raft has suffered minor damage. Alliance members must send wood immediately. Ethan studied through the storm. His eyes were calm. Victor was begging already. Not openly. Not yet. But the ocean had placed its hand around his throat. Soon it would squeeze. Ethan opened his inventory. Infinite food. Infinite water. Infinite materials. Infinite tools. The first disaster had not weakened him. It had multiplied his wealth. Every survivor who suffered made his resources more valuable. Every disaster widened the distance between him and the rest of humanity. He stood before the reinforced window and watched lightning crawl across the black horizon. The storm reflected in his eyes, cold, silent, merciless. This world believed it had trapped him on an ocean with nothing. It was wrong. The ocean was not his prison. It was his warehouse. The survivors were not his companions. They were customers. The so-called leaders were not his enemies. They were future beggars. Ethan raised the cup to his lips. His smile deepened. Let them struggle. Let them starve. Let them build their pathetic alliances and crown themselves kings over wet planks. He would remain hidden. He would gather every blueprint, register every resource, upgrade every structure. And when the ocean finally revealed its true horrors, he would open the gates of his fortress and decide who deserved to breathe. Not with justice, not with mercy, with price. Morning arrived without sunlight. The storm had passed, but the sky remained the color of bruised iron. Broken planks drifted across the ocean, torn sails, pieces of clothing, a child's wooden toy. The sea carried everything with the same indifference. The global channel had changed overnight. The screaming was gone. So was the arrogance. The survivors who remained spoken short, frightened messages. How many are left? I have no food. My raft is damaged. Please trade me rope. Anything. I will give anything. The system answered before anyone else could. First disaster concluded. Survival rate critically reduced. Rewards will be distributed according to performance. Ethan received several notifications. Storm survival reward acquired. Rare vessel blueprint fragment acquired. Ocean coin acquired. Hidden achievement unlocked. Calm within catastrophe. Inventory expansion reward. Talent evolution progress. His endless inventory widened again. The darkness inside it seemed to stretch beyond sight. More importantly, his talent had begun to change. Endless supply remained at the center of the screen, but beneath it, a new line pulsed slowly. Evolution condition. Register a greater variety of rare resources. Ethan closed the panel. It was exactly as he had expected. Infinity was not the end. It was the beginning. Outside, survivors crawled from ruined shelters and began counting what they had lost. Ethan counted what he had gained. Salt stone, copper wire, waterproof cloth, reinforced wood, metal knives, blue fruit, medicine, primitive tools, blueprint fragments. Every item endless, every item waiting to evolve. The trading market opened again. Ethan listed basic supplies, water, dried biscuits, repair rope, wood nails. His prices remain harsh. Rare, unknown objects, special plants, creature parts. The channel exploded immediately. That price is robbery. He's exploiting disaster victims. Whoever owns these listings is a monster. We should boycott him. A few minutes passed. Every listing sold out. Then Ethan listed them again and again. The complaints grew louder. So did the purchases. Morality had a short life when thirst began. Victor Crane appeared in the global channel. His profile still carried the Golden Alliance mark, but his message lacked its former confidence. Dawn Fleet has survived the storm. Our leadership protected many members. Several survivors immediately attacked him. You protected no one. My sister sent you all our wood. You refused to help after taking our supplies. Half the Alliance died. Victor ignored them. Temporary losses were unavoidable. Discipline must be restored. All independent traders are ordered to register with the Alliance. Serena Blackwood followed. Certain hoarders profited from last night's deaths. Such behavior threatens human unity. Ethan observed the messages while eating warm fish. The fish had come from his reinforced net shortly before dawn. One ordinary silverfish had entered his inventory. Now he had an endless supply. After repeated storage, the fish had evolved into a richer variety with denser flesh and higher energy. His breakfast was better than anything most survivors had eaten before the catastrophe. The contrast amused him. Victor called him a hoarder. Serena called him a threat. Neither knew his name, neither knew his location. Neither understood that the more they spoke, the more attention they directed toward his market. They were advertising for him, free of charge. A private message arrived from Lily. I found something strange. She attached an image. A translucent jelly-like creature clung to the underside of her raft. Blue light pulsed inside its body. Ethan's eyes sharpened. Do not touch it directly. I almost did. Use cloth. Trap it inside a container. I only have a broken bucket. I will send you what you need. Ethan transferred waterproof gloves, a sealed barrel, rope, and a metal knife. Lily hesitated. What do you want in return? The creature. Her reply took several moments. Is it dangerous? Everything is dangerous. Bring me something useful and you eat. Fail and someone else will. The words were cold, honest. Lily sent back a single sentence. I understand. Ethan did not comfort her. Comfort created dependence. Terms created obedience. While Lily worked, Ethan expanded his platform again. The vessel core accepted endless materials eagerly. The deck widened. A second shelter rose beside. One became storage. One became workshop space. He constructed a rain collection system, though he did not need rain. He built drying racks, though his food never ran out. He installed extra anchors, reinforced barriers, and a tall observation frame. Redundancy mattered. His talent was absolute. His body was not. A single mistake could still throw him into the sea. Ethan had no intention of becoming one of those fools who mistook advantage for immortality. He opened the rare blueprint fragment from the storm reward. The fragment merged with several others purchased overnight. A complete blueprint appeared. Basic desalination chamber. Converts seawater into drinkable water. Most survivors would have celebrated. Ethan almost discarded it. Then he paused. The machine itself was not valuable because of the water. It was valuable because of what its components might unlock. He constructed one. A metal chamber formed beside the workshop. Pipes ran beneath the deck. A small furnace connected to a condensation unit. The first batch produced clean water and a residue of crystallized salt. The moment both entered his inventory, they became endless. Then the system chimed. Processed resource registered. Purified mineral salt. Evolution available. The white crystals darkened slightly and gained a faint silver glow. High-grade preservation salt can prevent decay, can improve certain foods, can weaken low-level marine parasites. Ethan stored it carefully. Another path had opened. The useless machine had created a useful byproduct. This ocean rewarded people who understood systems. It murdered those who only chased immediate hunger. The global channel announced a new event. Scattered supply zones have appeared. Each zone contains concentrated floating resources. Warning: supply zones may attract marine creatures. Victor immediately posted coordinates. Dawn Fleet will claim the nearest zone. NA members are forbidden from approaching. The message was ridiculous. Coordinates meant nothing to isolated survivors unless they possessed navigation tools. But Victor had an elite navigation talent. That was his only real advantage. Ethan studied the coordinates anyway. His vessel had drifted closer than expected. Not close enough to see the zone. Close enough to reach it with upgrades. A new construction option appeared after the desalination chamber was completed. Primitive paddle system, then another manual rudder. Ethan built both. He did not need to obey the current anymore. His platform moved slowly, but it moved where he commanded. He could reach the supply zone before Victor's followers gathered. Yet, he did not leave. He waited because a king who rushed towards scattered scraps was still thinking like a beggar. He sent messages to several regular traders. Bring me resources from the zone. I will exchange food, water, tools, and repair materials. The responses came instantly. Are you serious? How much? What materials do you want? Anything uncommon. You're not going there. No. Why? Ethan did not answer. Let them wonder. Let them think he feared the danger. Let Victor claim the glory. Ethan preferred the harvest after others bled. Hours passed. The sea became crowded with distant fragments of vessels. Some of survivors had connected several rafts. Others tied barrels beneath their platforms for stability. Victor's group arrived first at the supply zone. His raft had grown larger. A tall flag marked the center. Several smaller rafts moved behind him attached by rope. The Dawn fleet looked impressive from far away. Up close, it was a chain of desperate people dragging one arrogant man forward. Victor posted triumphantly. We have secured the zone, Serena added. Order to defeat selfishness. Then the first marine creature surfaced. A long black fin cut through the water. Another followed, then 5 more. The supply zone erupted into chaos. The global channel flooded with frantic messages. Something hit my raft. Cut the rope. Do not cut it. We will drift away. Victor, help us. The creatures are under the platform. Victor issued commands. Outer rafts form a defensive line. The implication was impossible to miss. The weakest members would become bait. People protested. Victor threatened to remove them from the alliance. A few obeyed. A few tried to flee. The ropes tangled. The formation collapsed. From a distance, Ethan observed through a crude viewing lens created from traded glass fragments. The black creatures were not sharks. They were longer, thinner. Their mouths opened sideways. Rows of pale teeth flashed beneath the water. One struck an outer raft. The plank split. A man fell into the sea. The water turned red. The screaming stopped quickly. Victor's central raft remained protected. He had planned it that way. Ethan felt no surprise. Tyrants always called sacrifice necessary when someone else was dying. Lily finally sent the translucent creature. It arrived sealed inside the barrel. Ethan transferred enough food and water to keep her and her brother alive for several days. The creature entered his inventory. The talent activated. Glow jelly registered. Regeneration begins. The barrel multiplied. Inside each one floated an identical creature. A new analysis appeared. Glow jelly produces weak biological light. Body fluid may be used in medicine. Nervous tissue reacts to ocean energy. Ethan took one to the workshop. He did not cut it immediately. He placed it near the vessel core. The creature began to pulse faster. A line of light moved through its body toward the crystal beneath the deck. The system answered. Compatible energy organism detected. Primitive energy lamp blueprint unlocked. Ethan built one. A glass container formed around the glow jelly. Copper wire connected it to a switch. Soft blue light filled the workshop. No flame, no smoke, no fuel. Endless lamps became possible from a single creature. Ethan leaned back. While Victor lost people fighting over wood and crates, Ethan had acquired biological energy. The difference between them widened again. Night had not yet fallen when the Dawn fleet finally escaped the supply zone. They left bodies behind. Broken rafts, several rare crates. Victor claimed victory. We repelled the creatures and secured valuable resources. No one believed him. But some were still too afraid to leave. Fear held alliances together longer than loyalty ever could. Ethan's hired gatherers returned one after another. They sent him creature teeth, a strange red algae, a broken compass, dense blackwood, a shell covered in silver patterns. Each item entered his inventory. Each multiplied without limit. The razor eel teeth evolved into stronger cutting material. The dark scales became water-resistant armor plates. The red algae became a healing paste after processing. The blackwood proved naturally resistant to impact. The silver shells stored faint sound vibrations and unlocked a warning device. Ethan's workshop transformed tools lined the walls. Blue lamps illuminated every corner. Armor plates reinforced the outer barrier. Blackwood strengthened the foundation. A simple alarm system began listening to the water around his vessel. He had not entered the supply zone. He had gained more than those who fought inside it. Victor sent him another private message through the market identity system. You are the one buying rare materials. Ethan did not respond. I know you are behind the water listings. Silence. You are stealing resources that belong to the Alliance. Ethan smiled faintly. He finally replied, then take them. Victor answered immediately, name your coordinates, no coward. Ethan closed the message. That single word told him everything. Victor was frustrated. He had expected anger. He wanted Ethan to reveal himself. He needed a target because his authority was cracking. Ethan would not give him one. Not yet. A system notification interrupted the exchange. Hidden danger detected. Several common supply crates contained dormant parasitic eggs. Incubation period nearing completion. Ethan's gaze turned cold. He reviewed the resources gathered from the zone. One wooden crate carried faint organic residue along its inner seams. His toxin detector remained green. The eggs were not poisonous. They were alive. He placed the crate inside a workshop compartment. Then he opened the trade history. Victor's alliance had collected hundreds of similar crates. Most survivors had stored them near food and water. Some were probably sleeping beside them. Ethan now understood the true purpose of the supply zone. The razor eels were not the disaster. They were guards. The treasure itself was the trap. A new global message appeared from Serena. Dawn Fleet will distribute recovered crates to loyal members. This proves the Alliance rewards obedience. People praised her. They thanked Victor. They begged for crates. Ethan observed them celebrate. His expression did not change. The parasites would hatch in darkness. They would crawl into food stores, water containers, wounds, mouths. The Alliance had carried the plague into its own center. Victor believed he had won. Serena believed the crates would strengthen their rule. Ethan had handed them nothing. He had warned them of nothing. Why should he? They wanted the treasure. They had bled for it. They had sacrificed others for it. It would be cruel to deny them their reward. He sealed the infected crate behind reinforced glass and set a blue lamp above it. Then he prepared tools, knives, salt, fire, healing paste, containers. He wanted to study whatever emerged. Knowledge could become endless, too, even if the talent could not store it outside. The ocean darkened. Inside the Dawn Fleet, people opened their crates and laughed over food, seeds, cloth, and tools. No one noticed the pale threads moving beneath the wood. No one heard the faint scratching. No one understood why the razor eels had refused to eat the floating crates. Ethan sat alone beneath the cold blue light. His vessel was warm. His supplies were infinite. His defenses had multiplied. And far away, the people who called him selfish were carrying death into their own beds. He lifted a cup of purified water. A quiet smile touched his lips. Victor had demanded control of all resources. Now he had it, every poison crate, every hidden egg. Every future scream, all centralized beneath his leadership, exactly as he wanted. The first scream came shortly after midnight. It cut through the Dawn Fleet's private channel. Then another followed, then dozens. My arm is moving. There is something under my skin. The food is alive. Burn the crates. Do not touch me. Help. The pale threads hidden inside the wood had hatched. They were not worms. They were thinner, almost transparent. They entered through cuts, fingernails, lips, and eyes. They buried themselves beneath flesh and moved toward warmth, toward blood, toward the brain. Victor tried to silence the channel. He failed. Too many people were screaming at once. Serena ordered everyone to remain calm. Her voice shook. Isolate the infected. Do not damage Alliance property. The crates may still contain useful materials. A man laughed hysterically. Then his message ended in wet choking. The Dawn Fleet collapsed into chaos. People threw supplies into the sea. Others set their own rafts on fire. Some cut the connecting ropes and fled into darkness. Several infected survivors begged for help. Their neighbors pushed them overboard. The ocean swallowed them while pale shapes moved beneath their skin. Ethan observed the Alliance tear itself apart through the public channel. He felt nothing. The parasite inside his sealed workshop had already hatched. It looked harmless. A strand of white glass. But when exposed to raw meat, it moved with terrifying speed. It pierced the flesh, split into smaller strands, then multiplied. Ethan sprinkled high-grade preservation salt across the specimen. The parasite convulsed. Its surface blackened. Within moments, it curled into a dead knot. The system answered. Marine nerve parasite weakness discovered. High-grade mineral salt. Intense heat. Certain acidic compounds. Discovery reward acquired. Parasite course sample registered. Regeneration begins. Ethan placed one dead parasite into storage. It became endless. The material analysis opened immediately. Dried parasite fiber can conduct weak biological signals, can improve detection devices, can be refined into control threads for primitive mechanisms. Ethan's smile sharpened. Even plague had value. He began working before the Dawn Fleet finished screaming. The silver sound shell, copper wire, glow jelly tissue, and parasite fiber were combined inside the workshop. The vessel core pulsed. A new blueprint appeared. Biological perimeter sensor. Detects movement in surrounding water. Distinguishes large marine creatures from debris. Can emit warning pulses. Ethan constructed several. Small silver shells were mounted beneath the edges of the platform. Thin threads connected them to blue lamps inside the observation room. Whenever something moved beneath the vessel, the lamps flickered in a pattern. His fortress gained eyes below the water. He continued. Razor eel teeth were shaped into cutting blades. Dark scales were layered into armor panels. Black impact would reinforce the outer deck. Waterproof cloth formed sealed compartments. Red algae became medical paste. Glow jelly fluid became energy gel. Salt stones strengthened the foundation. Nothing was wasted. Nothing ran out. Every successful design could be repeated without limit. Every mistake cost him nothing but time. By dawn, Ethan's platform no longer resembled a survivor's raft. It had become a moving compound. A raised central shelter stood beneath a layered roof. The workshop occupied one side. A storage hall occupied the other. Observation rails surrounded the upper deck. Blue biological lamps glowed through the gray morning fog. Reinforced barriers protected the edges. Multiple anchors rested at different points. The paddle system had evolved into a linked propulsion frame powered by manual levers and current catching fins. It was still slow, but it moved steadily. It moved safely. It moved under his command. The system recognized the transformation. The vessel core recognized that Ethan's drift platform had crossed another development threshold, unlocking a full structural evolution. He confirmed the upgrade, and a deep mechanical hum rolled through every reinforced plank beneath his feet. Supports pushed farther below the waterline, giving the growing vessel stability that ordinary rafts could never achieve. The pale core expanded under the central deck, sending branching lines of ocean energy through the entire structure. New construction zones appeared across the system menu, each one designed for a specialized purpose instead of basic survival. A farming compartment unlocked first, followed by livestock space, an advanced workshop, crew quarters, and a command room. The defensive tower option mattered most, because the ocean had already proven that resources always attracted hungry predators. Ethan walked through the newly organized stronghold and studied how the system assigned bonuses to every dedicated room. Food placed inside the preservation chamber would remain stable, even when storms or contamination threatened ordinary storage. Materials processed in the advanced workshop would evolve more efficiently, reducing the time between discovery and usable power. Plants grown inside the farming compartment could absorb ocean energy and develop qualities unavailable to normal crops. Defensive structures gained stronger foundations, meaning every future wall and tower could survive heavier impacts from below. The vessel was no longer a collection of upgrades attached to wet planks. It had become one connected machine. That machine existed for a single purpose: to keep growing faster than the disasters trying to destroy it. Ethan entered the farming compartment, carrying seeds collected through dozens of trades. Since the first storm, most were ordinary wheat, potatoes, medicinal herbs, and one strange black seed recovered from an infected supply crate. His inventory had already multiplied every seed endlessly, so failed experiments would cost nothing except time. He planted small test plots instead of filling the entire room, because unknown growth patterns still required careful observation. The vessel core released a faint current through the prepared soil, and green shoots broke through within hours. A new system notice confirmed that repeated harvest could evolve crops through prolonged exposure to ocean energy. Food quantity had stopped mattering the moment endless supply awakened, but crop quality could still strengthen his body. That distinction changed farming from a survival measure into another long-term path toward permanent physical growth. Ethan planted blue fruit beside ordinary crops, then established a shallow bed where red algae could spread safely. Salt-resistant herbs lined the edges, creating a controlled environment where every useful species could be tested separately. Within one compartment, the stronghold now produced medicine, nutrition, warmth, and materials for future biological research. The livestock room remained empty, but Ethan knew the market would eventually deliver creatures worth studying. A private trader soon offered an injured seabird that could no longer fly, and seemed useless to everyone else. Ethan accepted immediately, because a living organism could provide feathers, blood samples, eggs, behavior, and breeding potential. The talent registered the bird, then rejected direct duplication of complex living creatures as an impossible function. That limitation did not disappoint him. Absolute power without boundaries would have been suspicious in a world this cruel. Feathers still registered as materials, and future eggs could become renewable resources once the bird recovered enough to produce them. Ethan treated the damaged wing with red algae paste, then fed the bird evolved fish and purified water. The seabird watched him with dark suspicion, but by evening it could stand without collapsing against the cage. He required no affection from the animal, only survival long enough to reveal everything useful about its species. Other traders soon delivered shellfish clusters to small crabs and ocean insects living beneath a piece of driftwood. Each creature entered a monitored enclosure where Ethan could study shells, oil, venom, fiber, meat, and breeding cycles. He refused to name anything, because sentiment could blur judgment when every compartment needed to justify its space. The stronghold was becoming an ecosystem, but every living part still served a practical function within his expansion. Then Lily contacted him with worse news, reporting that her younger brother's fever had continued rising. Ethan reviewed her history before answering, because she had remained useful, honest, and consistent through every previous trade. He sent evolved medicine, clean cloth, high-grade salt, and strict instructions for preventing parasite contamination. The water had to be boiled even when it looked clean, and untreated wood from the supply zone had to burn. Lily thanked him, but Ethan redirected her toward recovery and continued gathering instead of emotional dependence. Her brother's survival mattered because Lily worked harder when she had someone specific to protect beside her. After following the treatment, she reported 3 nearby survivors asking permission to join her small raft group. One could repair tools, another claimed fishing experience, and the third possessed a weak healing talent. Ethan cared less about their stated abilities than how they behaved before receiving food or protection. He told Lily to assign each newcomer a different task, without revealing that the others were also being tested. Anyone complaining before working would leave, while anyone attempting theft would lose access to his supply network. The test produced immediate results. exposing character faster than any promise made through a private message. The fisherman completed his task without argument and returned every borrowed tool in usable condition. The repairman tried hiding rope for himself, proving that desperation had already become an excuse for betrayal. The young healer treated Lily's brother before discussing payment. Despite the system rating her talent as common grade, Ethan advised keeping the fisherman, removing the thief, and watching the healer more closely than anyone else. A useful talent could be trained, but a person who acted correctly under pressure was considerably harder to find. Lily accepted the decision without defending the repairman, because the ocean had already erased after illusions about fairness. That exchange confirmed a larger possibility Ethan had been considering. Since the first private trade, he had no interest in building a family aboard his vessel, but he could build a disciplined network. Remote collectors could search unknown waters while specialists processed resources Ethan had never encountered personally. Trusted distributors could move supplies, repair crews could stabilize settlements, and hunters could secure dangerous collection zones. Those people did not need permanent rooms inside his stronghold. They only needed reliable access to his resources. Dependence created through fair contracts would remain stronger and more predictable than friendship built through desperation. Ethan opened a restricted private trade group and called the organization the Black Tide Exchange. Entry required a useful skill, rare talent, proven contribution, or knowledge that improved survival for existing members. The first members included Lily, the fisherman, the healer, and several gatherers who had honored every previous agreement. Ethan offered no inspiring speech, because Victor had already taught the region how easily speeches could hide exploitation. The rules were simple enough for frightened survivors to understand. Even during the middle of another disaster, useful resources earned fair payment, completed work earned continued access, and theft ended the relationship permanently. Anyone revealing private coordinates would lose protection, while anyone respecting contracts would receive supplies exactly as promised. The simplicity attracted survivors who no longer trusted leaders demanding sacrifice before proving they could deliver anything. After the Dawn Fleet's betrayal, clean water delivered on time carried more authority than a Golden Alliance emblem. Medicine that worked, food without parasites, and rope that held under pressure became Ethan's strongest recruitment message. The Black Tide Exchange expanded quietly through results, never announcing its size or revealing the supplier's true location. A hunter with a spear talent joined and provided the network. With a dedicated marine combat specialist, a woman capable of identifying edible plants began sending seeds that ordinary survivors had ignored as worthless weeds. A former engineer contributed mechanical designs, while a carpenter explained stronger joints for structures exposed to constant motion. A diver with enhanced lungs brought materials from beneath wreckage that no surface collector could safely reach. A silent boy able to sense weather changes warned the network before pressure shifts became visible across the sky. Every member received equipment and provisions tailored to the value they consistently returned through the exchange. In return, Ethan gained knowledge, blueprints, rare organisms, and materials that expanded his inventory beyond common ocean debris. His control widened alongside the inventory, but he never revealed coordinates or displayed the stronghold's full scale. Most members knew him only as the supplier behind the market, a presence represented through reliable trade codes. Some believed the supplier was an organized team, while others suspected an automated system created by ocean survival. A smaller group guessed he possessed a rare production talent, but none understood that every registered resource became endless. Their ignorance protected the stronghold better than any wall, because enemies could not steal power they could not define. The engineer's rotating water wheel design became the first major improvement produced. Through this hidden collaboration, combined with Ethan's existing propulsion frame, it created a current turbine capable of moving the stronghold more efficiently. The carpenter's reinforced joints reduced structural strain whenever waves twisted different sections of the expanding vessel. Luminous coral from the diver reacted with glow jelly tissue, producing brighter lamps with lower biological energy loss. Floating vine seeds adapted to the farming compartment and grew fibers tougher than the ordinary rope Ethan first awakened beside. Those evolved fibers replaced weaker bindings throughout the deck, improving anchors, nets, barriers, and weapon mechanisms. The stronghold became faster, brighter, and more stable, without Ethan exposing a single secret to the people helping him. A defensive tower rose above the front deck. Once the advanced workshop completed its first set of reinforced components. At the beginning, the tower held only a mounted harpoon launcher with a limited firing angle. Endless razor eel teeth provided serrated edges, parasite fibers sharpened the trigger response, and dark scales protected the frame. The finished launcher could strike large marine creatures before their bodies reached the stronghold's outer walls. Ethan tested it when the biological sensors detected a heavy shadow moving directly beneath the front deck. He rotated the tower, waited for the creature's skull to cross the firing path, and released one reinforced harpoon. The weapon struck the water with a violent crack, and a massive gray predator rolled onto the surface. Its skull had been pierced cleanly, proving the tower could convert approaching danger into harvestable material. Dense marine bone, thick hide, high energy blood, and predator meat all registered inside Ethan's inventory. The tower paid for itself with one precise shot, because every part of the creature immediately became unlimited. Ethan processed the hide into stronger armor panels and shaped the bone into braces for vulnerable structural sections. The blood became nutrient solution for experimental crops, while the meat evolved into rations that improved physical recovery. Anything foolish enough to attack the stronghold would now strengthen the same fortress it had attempted to destroy. While Ethan's network developed through measurable results, the Dawn fleet continued rotting behind flags and public declarations. Victor survived the parasite outbreak, but many of the members who had trusted his leadership did not. Instead of accepting responsibility, he blamed the dead and claimed they had ignored instructions that never existed. Serena supported the lie by accusing independent traders of contaminating the supply crates. After the Alliance recovered them, their remaining followers wanted a target for their grief, so some accepted the accusation despite overwhelming evidence. Victor reorganized the damaged fleet under harsher rules, presenting increased control as the only path back to stability. All food entered centralized storage, every weapon remained with loyal guards, and questioning leadership became grounds for abandonment. Serena used appraisal to identify valuable objects, then quietly moved the best materials into rooms reserved for herself. From a distance, the Dawn fleet still looked organized with flags, connected platforms, and one guarded central vessel. Behind those walls, hunger spread beside fear, and every survivor knew supplies existed that leadership refused to share. Whispers about the Black Tide Exchange moved through the Alliance faster. After Victor officially banned its name, members compared poison promises with clean medicine, dependable rope, fair trade, and water arriving exactly when purchased. The ban only advertised Ethan's network, because forbidden information became more valuable to people trapped under confiscation. One evening, a frightened Dawn fleet member contacted the supplier and offered internal coordinates in exchange for food. Ethan demanded proof before payment, refusing to reward another desperate story without information he could verify. The informant sent images of Victor's central vessel, Serena's storage room, and a chart marking planned supply routes. One photograph revealed a locked compartment packed with rare resources, taken from ordinary Alliance members. Another showed a black metal cube covered in oceanic symbols beneath the cloth inside Serena's private storage. The object might have been a vessel core upgrade, but its shape and sealed surface suggested something far stranger. Victor clearly did not understand what the Alliance possessed, while Serena appeared to recognize only its rarity. Ethan wanted the cube, yet attacking the fleet would expose his position and spend force without guaranteed profit. Waiting offered better odds, because dangerous objects usually revealed their value when impatient owners interfered with them. He paid the informant and ordered continued observation, especially if the cube changed before the next system event. When the survivor asked what the object represented, Ethan described it as the reason to remain alive and useful. Days passed while the informant watched Serena guard the cube more closely than food or medicine. During that time, Ethan's enclosed farms produced their first complete harvest under sustained ocean energy. Cultivation. Ordinary wheat evolved into silver grain wheat, and eating measured portions increased stamina without dangerous side effects. Common beans transformed into iron root beans capable of strengthening muscles slowly through repeated consumption. The original blue fruit evolved into frost heart fruit, creating warmth that lasted longer and resisted severe cold. Ethan tested every crop carefully, because permanent benefits mattered more than consuming unlimited food without control. His endurance increased, cold wind affected him less, and his grip remained steady through longer construction sessions. The changes were subtle enough to hide from outsiders, but powerful enough to improve every future decision under pressure. Ethan distributed small portions to selected Black Tide members, whose performance had already justified greater investment. The amounts rewarded loyalty without revealing that entire warehouses of evolved crops existed inside one inventory. The healer's common talent improved after repeated treatment using evolved medicine and purified biological materials. She learned to guide medicinal energy through wounds instead of merely slowing bleeding. With basic system support, the fisherman developed sharper reflexes after eating predator meat during repeated collection runs near dangerous currents. Luminous coral extract strengthened the weather boy's sensitivity, allowing earlier warnings before major pressure shifts. Their official talent grades remained unchanged, but practical value increased because training finally had proper resources. Ethan understood the lesson more clearly than anyone obsessed with awakening labels. Across the global channel, talent was only a tool, resources were fuel, and repeated discipline used to determine what either could accomplish. Victor built his alliance around visible grades such as elite, advanced, common, and weak. Ethan built his organization around completed work, honest reports, survival results, and improvements that could be measured. That difference would eventually determine who controlled the ocean. After titles stopped impressing desperate survivors, the Stronghold's command room recorded every exchange, route, specialist, and material entering the Black Tide network. Maps gradually filled with safe currents,